Hello and welcome to Nothing But the Truth. With just 2 days left for voting in Jammu and Kashmir, what are the prospects of the ruling National Conference? That's the key question I shall explore today in a special interview with the incumbent Chief Minister, Omar Abdullah. Chief Minister, with 6 years of anti-incumbency against you and after the devastating floods that you suffered in September, can you accept that you're going into these elections with your back against the wall?
Well, I don't know how we can automatically assume that there is anti-incumbency. The fact is that we've done a fair amount of work over the last 6 years. Militancy is at its lowest levels in the last 25 years. A fair amount of development has happened. And there is a positive sort of feedback that one is getting from the various parts of the state that I've had the opportunity to campaign in. So I'm not as pessimistic about the results as some of the armchair experts would like to suggest.
Let me put this to you. If you're contesting, if you're contesting that there's no anti-incumbency, are you actually suggesting the wind is in your sails?
I'm suggesting the things are not as bad as some of the so-called experts would like to have you believe.
So you believe that in fact your result is going to take people by surprise, that you will do much better than most people think is going to be the case?
I'm definitely hopeful of that, yeah.
Your critics say that you've run away from Ganderbal, a constituency that was fought and won by your father and before that by your grandfather. Your critics say this in fact is sure proof that you're scared and you know you're doing badly. How do you respond to them?
Well, actually, I took the decision to leave Ganderbal almost 3 years ago. And there is no way that I was running scared for 3 years. While I didn't make this decision public, my senior party colleagues were well aware of this decision. In fact, when Sheikh Ishfaq, the National Conference candidate in Ganderbal, joined or rejoined the National Conference, it was on the understanding that he would be contesting from Ganderbal and I would be giving up that seat. So, I mean, regardless of how things have gone over the last couple of years, you can't expect that I was running scared for 3 years now. Obviously, my opponents were caught by surprise. This was not a decision that they expected. And they're now scrambling for excuses and trying to project it as if this was some sort of fear on my part. The fact is that I won that seat and I've left voluntarily. I haven't lost. And I felt that with the people of Ganderbal having elected my grandfather, my father and me, it was time that the people of Ganderbal got a local candidate from the National Conference, and that's what we've done.
But why should they need a local candidate from your party when they have such a close emotional historical link with the Abdullah family? Surely those are reasons for sticking on. After all, the Gandhis don't leave Amethi and Raebareli and look for a new constituency just because they've grown tired of standing in the same place.
I mean, that's for them to decide where they want to fight from. I felt that this was an appropriate time to move on. I'd lost in 2002, I won in 2008. I did a lot of work, thousands of crores worth of work has taken place in Ganderbal, and this was the best time to step back from there.
It sounds to me as if you're half suggesting that it was time to shower your benefits on another constituency and to spread your largesse further afield.
Well, I mean, that's one way of looking at it. Having done so much for Ganderbal, it would be appropriate to try and similarly develop another constituency as well. The fact is that I don't live in Ganderbal. I don't have a family sort of connection with Ganderbal other than a political one.
Okay.
And I live in Sonwar. I have a family connection with Birwa. And therefore, they were appropriate constituencies to contest from.
Let's in that case come to Sonawar and Birwa, the two constituencies where you are going to contest from. Both of those are constituencies where in May, the People's Democratic Party beat the National Conference by fairly sizable margins. And that was before the devastating floods in September. Those floods have now badly affected both constituencies. I put it to you that you've got the dice against you in these two constituencies. It's not going to be easy, and you might not even win.
Well, then at least you can't blame me or accuse me of looking for safe seats. I'm deliberately fighting in seats where I know the election is going to be a challenge. And the reception I got in Birwa when I went to file my nomination a couple of days ago, I think that will have given my critics and doubters something to think about.
But what about people who turn around and say that Omar Abdullah once again faces the prospects he faced in 2002? You could end up losing both seats.
So be it. If that's the way it is, I don't see it that way, but we'll wait and see. At least, like I said, nobody can accuse me of trying to take the easy road.
All right. Let's then come to the prospects your party faces. In the last 2-3 months, at least 4 senior leaders have deserted the National Conference. Analysts point out that the loss of Mehboob Beg and the loss of Ajat Shatru Singh has sizably weakened your party in South Kashmir as well as in Jammu. Are you going into these elections not just a dispirited party, but possibly a divided house as well?
We're not divided. Yes, it's true. 3 or 4 people, relatively high profile, have moved on looking for greener pastures. Yes, we are weaker because Mehboob Beg left, but we're only weaker in the TV studios. Mehboob Beg was useful to us because he came on headlines today, he came on other television channels, he spoke English reasonably well, and therefore was a useful person for the National Conference to participate in debates. If he was really as strong on the ground as you'd like to believe he is, he would be fighting these elections on his own. The fact is that he's run away from a contest because he knows that he doesn't have a leg to stand on there.
What about
as far as
Ajat
Ajat Shatru is concerned, again, I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. I mean, at the end of the day, why is Ajat not fighting? I put it to you that even if Ajat Shatru with Narendra Modi campaigning for him in Nagrota had contested these elections, he would have lost.
So you're actually saying to me that at the end of the day, as far as the situation on the ground matters, Mehboob Beg and Ajat Shatru Singh are not a loss to the National Conference. You will be able to do just as well without them.
Perception-wise, yes, I could have done without it. But I take great satisfaction from the fact that both of these individuals that you name came alone and left alone. Not a single National Conference worker has left with them.
All right. Then the second problem you face is that the Congress, which was your ally for 6 years, today at the very highest levels is personally running down your performance as Chief Minister. They're questioning your capacity as the leader. Let me quote to you what Saifuddin Soz said to the Economic Times just day before yesterday. It was Congress's mistake to give him a 6-year term. It was a misfortune that his working was never reviewed and his leadership was never reconsidered. Now, if people who work closely with you and watched you intimately as Chief Minister say these things, isn't there a danger the people of Kashmir will believe them?
Well, unfortunately, Soz Saab has always been an opportunist. This is nothing new, and this will always continue. Soz Saab was one of the few people in the Congress who did not allow this government to settle down. For the first 3 years, he ran this campaign of a transitional leadership and how the Chief Minister's post would rotate after 3 years. The moment that period passed, he then started on the bandwagon of fighting elections on our own. Saifuddin Soz Saab has never been a well-wisher of this coalition government, and I don't expect him to have anything nice to say about me now. The truth is that none of these points were raised by the Congress party when I was campaigning against Mr. Narendra Modi and in favor of Rahul Gandhi not more than 6 months ago. At that point in time, they were very happy to have the National Conference lead their campaign in the state to try and get Rahul Gandhi to be the Prime Minister of India. Then there were no faults with the National Conference or its leadership. Suddenly every fault is visible to them. I honestly, what Saifuddin Soz Saab says, I take with a pinch of salt, because he is for want of a better set of words, a completely non-serious politician.
But it's not just Saifuddin Soz. Just yesterday, Sonia Gandhi, and she's the president of the Congress party, turned around and said that it was the inefficiency, remark those words, inefficiency of the National Conference, that it failed to implement the Food Security Act. She's blaming you directly, and that's the president.
No, let me put this on record unequivocally. It was not inefficiency. It was a considered decision not to implement the Food Security Act. because the Food Security Act would have deprived more than 25 lakh residents of Jammu and Kashmir of government supplied ration. Jammu and Kashmir state is the only state in the country that would have suffered on account of the Food Security Act. And what I find most unfortunate is that the people around Mrs. Sonia Gandhi are well aware of these facts. It was Madam Ambika Soni who was pleading our case with the then Food Minister, Mr. Thomas, to try and figure out some via media so that Jammu and Kashmir would not suffer on this account. I have the greatest respect for Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, and the support that I've got from her for the last 6 years is something that I can never thank her adequately for. But the truth is that in this one respect, the people around her have unfortunately given her a wrong set of facts upon which to base her speech. It was a considered decision, and I have no regrets about not implementing the Food Security Act.
Omar Abdullah, what you're clearly suggesting is either Sonia Gandhi has been misled by her closest advisors, or she's being mischievous.
No, she would never, I would never accuse her of being mischievous. Mrs. Sonia Gandhi is a very grounded and balanced politician who would never play mischief for the sake of electoral votes. And I would be the last person on earth to say anything against her.
All right.
But I have no doubt that the people who helped prepare her speech put this in, knowing fully well that what they were making her say was actually far from the facts.
You know, the third problem that you face, and unfortunately there's a whole list of problems you face, is the BJP's Mission 44. The BJP is convinced that they're going to sweep the majority of the 37 seats in Jammu, and they believe they have a fair chance to win maybe 4, perhaps 5 in the valley. Does it worry you that the BJP could end up the single biggest party in your state?
No, it doesn't worry me. Let's wait and see what the voters do. I'm sure the BJP overestimated its chances in Maharashtra. Today it governs in Maharashtra at the mercy of a party that they call the Nationalist Corrupt Party. So the BJP has this habit of overestimating what they're going to do, and I have no doubt that when push comes to shove, they will find themselves far short of the Mission 44 that they had set out with.
Well, you say the BJP is overestimating itself. I put it to you that there are 3 principal factors working to the BJP's advantage. I want to take you through each of those one by one. To begin with, the number of Kashmiri Pandit voters on the electoral rolls has increased by an astonishing 27% since 2008 and by an incredible 4.5% since just May this year. Now, if you look at the situation in constituencies like Haba Kadal, Amira Kadal and Khanyar, where the highest vote any candidate got was just 6,314, then in those circumstances, if the PDP, the National Congress and the Conference combine together to split the Muslim vote, the BJP can easily squeeze through. That's one big factor in their favor.
Well, I think that was a factor until this morning. I think a lot of things have changed with Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani withdrawing his boycott call and suggesting that in these elections a boycott would be detrimental to the interests of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. I have a feeling that we're going to see a better turnout in elections. It remains to be seen what people like the Mirwais and Yasin Malik do, whether they want to support the BJP by trying to enforce a boycott campaign. But this development at the hands of Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani definitely queries the pitch for the BJP now in some of these seats.
I'll come to Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani's surprise announcement calling off the boycott, but let me point out something else first about the enrollment of Kashmiri Pandits on the electoral register. That can continue in several constituencies till the 4th of December. The BJP therefore has 6 weeks more to increase the number of Kashmiri Pandit voters, and every one of them will end up voting for the BJP. So, you know, that problem is not diminishing. The potential for it to grow is there, and you've got 6 weeks to face it.
You know, I take objection to the assumption, Karan, that no other party will get Kashmiri Pandit votes. I can guarantee you that there will be Kashmiri Pandit votes that will come to the National Conference, that will come to the Congress, that will even come to the PDP. Please don't assume that all Kashmiri Pandits are going to blindly vote for the BJP. Yes, there is a Kashmiri Pandit constituency that the BJP is trying to reach out to. But I think it's grossly unfair to all the other political parties and to the Kashmiri Pandits if you make this assumption that all Kashmiri Pandits are blindly going to vote for Narendra Modi and not a single Kashmiri Pandit vote will go to either the National Conference or the Congress or the PDP.
All right.
I will put it to you that even Sajad Lone will take Kashmiri Pandit votes in his area. So they're not all going to go to the BJP.
Practically every analyst will tell you that something like 80 to 85, maybe even more, 90% of the Kashmiri Pandit votes will go to the BJP. You people will take a very small, minuscule amount.
I don't attach much importance to these armchair experts. Let's wait and see how the vote turns out.
All right, let's then come to this point that you made about Saeed Ali Shah Gilani this morning calling off the boycott. He may have done so, but the Mirwais hasn't, Yassin Malik hasn't, and if those people stand by the boycott, it will affect the way Muslims turn out, and the smaller the Muslim turnout, the better the BJP will do. That's the second factor in the BJP's favor, and it still exists.
Let's see what Yassin Malik and the Mirwais do. Let's wait and see.
Are you hopeful that they will call off the boycott like Gilani has this morning?
Well, it'll be difficult for them to justify a boycott when he hasn't kept one in place.
But they don't get on with it.
Initially, they're not saying anything because neither Yassin Malik nor the Mirwais has any stakes in Ganderbal or Bandipur, the two districts going to the polls on the 25th. Both Yassin Malik and the Mirwais, their political constituency is Srinagar city. So let's wait and see what they do.
The third factor that's working in the BJP's favor is Mr. Modi's promise of good governance. After the floods which have devastated people in the valley, if even a small percentage of Kashmiris attach hope to the promise of delivery, the promise of good governance that the Prime Minister is holding out, you could find many people dropping their animosity or their suspicion of BJP and voting for BJP. Again, that's a factor that would eat into your vote and do you down.
I would be very surprised if you see voters voting for the BJP in the valley.
Do you really mean that?
I absolutely mean it. I absolutely mean it.
So you're saying to me that the BJP's hopes of winning up to 4 or 5, particularly in places like Amira Kadal, Haba Kadal and Khanyar, is illusory?
Well, you yourself have said that those seats are based on Kashmiri Pandit vote.
But apart from that, you don't think Kashmiri Muslims in the valley will vote for BJP in any significant number?
No, you'll get a handful of votes, a trickle here, a trickle there, perhaps based on local influence. We have to see what happens with this sort of dialogue that has happened between Sajad Lone and the Prime Minister and what difference that makes. But other than that, I don't expect them to make any significant difference.
Omar Abdullah, let's take a break at that point. When I come back, I want to put to you some of the attempts the BJP is making to change its image and ask you, will they succeed? And are you worried that if they do, they could once again eat into your party's position? Welcome back to Nothing But the Truth and an exclusive interview with the incumbent Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Omar Abdullah. All right, Chief Minister, let's come to some other factors that are in the news which many people are interpreting as advantages for the BJP. For instance, the Hindustan Times reports that the BJP has brought in a sizable number of Muslim clerics from outside the state to convince Kashmiri Muslims it's not an anti-Muslim party. At the same time, BJP leaders are now letting it be known publicly, in fact, that their stand on Article 370 is that the people of Kashmir themselves will decide about its future, whether it's to be retained or whether it's to be revoked. Now, if those two factors work towards diluting or diminishing the BJP's two greatest negatives, the party's appeal could grow.
Well, bringing in the clerics is actually going to backfire. There is a growing resentment amongst the local clerics here with these imported clerics that are trying to spread their message around. There has been a lot of chatter at the grassroots level amongst the local imams and the priests in the mosques about exactly this issue. And there is a growing sense of resentment about the BJP trying to use this card to drum up support for themselves.
Okay.
So I don't see this working. As far as Article 370 is concerned, in fact, the BJP is tying itself up in knots, because the same party is saying different things in Jammu, it's saying different things in Kashmir, and saying entirely different things in Ladakh. And none of this is going to fly with people.
So you're saying that the BJP position on Article 370 will trip them up rather than help them?
Well, it is tripping them up, because you have Rajnath Singh saying one thing in Jammu, you have the vice president or whoever of the BJP saying an entirely different thing in Kashmir, you have their candidate in Srinagar saying that if Article 370 is touched, I'll pick up the gun. So there is clearly no clarity on where the BJP stands on Article 370.
Okay. Now, today, speaking in Kishtwar, Prime Minister Modi has personally attacked your family. He's described you as the family that in 5-year installments loots the state. How do you respond to that charge directly from the Prime Minister?
Well, I look forward to him proving the allegation. He's the Prime Minister of India. He has all the agencies at his disposal. Please go ahead and prove it. Every 5 to 6 years, they tom-tom these sort of charges, and that's it. So please prove them.
Are you not upset by what the Prime Minister said?
I've heard this too many times to be upset by it, Karan. This is a regular feature of election campaigns in the state. The BJP particularly only remembers dynastic politics when they're fighting in states like this. I challenge the Prime Minister to make this speech in Punjab. I'd like to see him make this speech in front of Badal Sahab with Sukhbir sitting on the stage. Let him make this speech in front of Yashwant Sinha, where Yashwant Sinha's son is a minister in his government. Let him make this speech in Maharashtra, where the Shiv Sena and he have been friends and still claim to be friends. Let him make this speech in front of the former minister Munde's daughter, who is now a minister in the Maharashtra government. The BJP has its own mini dynasties as well. So I don't think they should be pointing fingers at us while they themselves propagate this sort of politics.
Omar Abdullah,
they're very happy to have members of the Nehru-Gandhi family, so long as they're on their side of the fence and not the other side of the fence.
My last question to you, Omar Abdullah. If the BJP were to be in a position to form a government, whether with support from the PDP or with support from Sajjad Lone or maybe with support from both, would a Hindu chief minister be acceptable in the valley?
Why should there be a problem with who's chief minister of Jammu and Kashmir? Jammu and Kashmir is a Muslim majority state, yes, but it is a secular state. At the end of the day, the people of Jammu and Kashmir will determine who the chief minister of Jammu and Kashmir is. We have never said that it is the exclusive right of a particular family to rule over Jammu and Kashmir, or a particular religion to rule over Jammu and Kashmir. And again, why should we divide this only amongst Muslims and Hindus? Jammu and Kashmir has a sizable population of Sikhs. We have Buddhist majority areas. Why are we automatically ruling them out of the equation? Why can't we have a Sikh chief minister, or a Buddhist chief minister, or a Christian chief minister? Why should the choice automatically fall to just a Hindu or a Muslim? Why can't we have a Kashmiri Pandit chief minister? If the Kashmiri Pandits are going to vote in as large a number as you would suggest for the BJP, why would the BJP not put a Kashmiri Pandit chief minister then?
A Kashmiri Pandit would be a Hindu chief minister. It would be the same thing.
Sure, I'm saying that why, no, unfortunately when people use the term Hindu, they automatically assume somebody from the plains of Jammu. I'm being a little bit more specific, that's all.
All right, Chief Minister, a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for joining us on Nothing But the Truth.